Hi, I'm Bob Dixon. Welcome to the Leader's Edge Hot Takes edition of the Five Eagles Insight Podcast. For over 3 decades, I served in the military as an engineer and as a strategist, and I learned a few things about leadership. We know that it goes beyond theory. It's about real-world application. So in this series, sponsored by Five Eagles Leadership, we feature industry leaders and share their leadership journeys with you. My mission's simple. It's to help you become the best leader you can be. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to be considered as a guest in upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview and apply today. Now, let's get started.
Welcome back to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Marisa McClure, and joining me today is Marcus Inman from Springfield, Missouri. Marcus is the founder of C&H Holdings. Welcome, Marcus, and thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you, Marissa, for inviting me, and I'm excited to be here.
Great. Let's get right into some questions. I'm anxious to hear more about your businesses. So give us a brief overview of what your business does and maybe a little bit about why you got into it.
Well, absolutely. So C&H Holdings is a holding company. We actually have a few different subsidiaries that we operate. We have Elite Business Exchange, which focuses on business brokers. We have Smart Business Exchange, which focuses on business owners and business buyers. We have a couple of other subsidiaries that we're currently building, so I'm not going to get into details about those. But really what we do is we provide access to tools and listing services for people that want to buy and sell businesses, and these tools are stuff that really isn't available on the open market. So the how I got into this is I was operationally a business broker for a while. I worked with one of the top business brokerages in the United States, transitioned into my own brokerage for a little while, and I really got tired of spending a whole lot of my time doing administrative tasks. So you would get all the information from a business owner, and you would have to sit down and do the valuation, which, working with a top 5 agency, you would assume that there was a lot of tools available, but we were still using spreadsheets to do a business valuation and manually reviewing, the profit and loss statements and the tax stuff and the balance sheets, all that back end paperwork that everybody hates to stare at. And I was looking for tools to make my life easier, because for me, I'll pay some extra money if it frees up time. As we both know, time's super valuable.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. And I found out they're not out there. So I went, well, how in the world do I make this for myself? Like, how do I make this easy? And AI is starting to become a really big transformative tool in a lot of industries, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking into solutions and created, from there it became, hey, if I don't have this tool, I bet a lot of other, and I looked for months for a tool just to do valuations. And there's calculators, but they're not based on today's market value. They're based on historic values, which can be okay, but when you're trying to value a business and you're getting 2-year-old information, you wouldn't value your house that way if you were selling it. Why in the world would you want to value your business that way? Right. So this is where C&H Holdings began. It began as a tool that I wanted, and it has then since evolved into Elite Business Exchange, which is focused on our business brokers. Those guys and gals get the opportunity. It's monthly reoccurring, so they pay a monthly. They get their listings. They have automated AI-backed market-based valuations of the business, and it's literally scan the documents. They're able to produce results. We're a little newer, so we're still developing other tools that are backed with that system. But really, what we do is we just make business brokers and the process of buying and selling a business way more simple. All the way down to where a business owner can do it themselves if they have the patience.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's nice to be able to support to make things easier for them and there. So that's great.
You're in the
Um,
process.
yeah, and you're still still building, and that's
Yeah.
good too. But it's a good start. It sounds like so awesome.
Yep. Yep.
What would you say is the biggest problem that you see in your industry, and how are you solving that for yourself and for your clients?
Well, really, I look at the industry that I'm in versus software as a service, which is what we provide. Really, we're in the business buying and selling industry. Even though we're not personally buying, we're not personally selling, that's the industry that we serve. So that's the industry that I like to focus on. And really, it's a very segmented, there are tools, but it's over here. There's a tool here, there's a tool here, there's a tool here, and then you have all this stuff over here. Um, so being very spread apart and not having a singular location to go to get all those tools is a major issue. It's a time suck, lack of a better way to say it. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of time in order, it's the 80/20 rule. You're spending 80% of your time on non-money making tasks. My
Mm,
goal was to give that time back to brokers. And for business owners, the issue becomes how do we do this ourselves? Because a lot of business owners, they're super smart people. They ran this business for years, but when they enter into this piece, it seems like this big mysterious beast.
mm,
How do I get the proper valuation of my business? How do I list my business properly? What is a confidential information memorandum? What needs to go into this stuff? It's like a whole new world for the business owners. And so, what I wanted to do was provide some of the same tools. Brokers have more because they have a little more involved, but some of those same tools for the automated valuation, the automated listing capabilities. It has the
mm,
capability of producing that confidential information memorandum, which uses market analyses and things like that. And it's all built on the back end of I have an excellent co-founder. He's a software engineer, and we went through this process. And he's built the tools and the listing sites. And what we're doing is really just providing these tools to the end user, to the business owner, for that business owner that says, I might not want to work with a broker. I just want to do it myself.
mm,
And we give
mm-hmm.
them the tools to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
really, it's about providing the right tools in the right location to help all parties. And then for our buyers, they know that the human error is effectively not necessarily taken out, but they have a very solid document that they're looking at when they see that, hey, this business value is this. They know that that's based on the market, on the business location, on the business trends, and it's not, you know, Bob's Plumbing thinking Bob's Plumbing's worth $2 million. It's a legitimate
Right.
valuation of that business based on all of those moving parts on the back end.
Yeah, and I could definitely see where that valuation really needs to be accurate because you want that business owner to get the most for the business that
Absolutely.
they're selling. And it sounds like you really kind of streamline the process, which is great. Yeah. So, who is your ideal client, and what are some of the outcomes they can expect from working with you?
Well, the ideal client are those buyers and sellers of businesses. So, and business brokers, the intermediaries. It, it, it's a very broad scope, but yeah, those are our target market are the business owners, the business sellers, which can also be the owner or the broker, and the business buyer, which can be private equity firms, it can be venture capital, it can be individual buyers out there that just are looking to buy a business. And whenever they go in there, they again with as a buyer, they know that hey, I'm looking at solid documents. This isn't just made up. It's things like
Right.
that. As a seller, business owner, when you scan your documents into the system, that that system's producing something not to try to sell you a service. It's producing a document so you can move forward with the knowledge of what your business is actually worth, what the trends are, what your market holds for your business. Some business owners may look at that and go, oh, maybe I should focus here and not sell. Um, with brokers,
Yeah.
it's just a suite of tools all the way down to we're still in building some of these back end tools for the brokers, but the end product literally will be a one stop shop. They go in there, they
Mm,
scan their documents. and it goes from valuation to listing, confidential information memorandum. We will even have due diligence processes, and we're currently in conversations with legal uh, document providers to help produce the APAs, the um, purchase agreements between buyers and sellers. Um, that way they can, it's a one-stop shop, because
Mm-hmm.
with Elite, which focuses on our brokers, when a broker uses Elite, they don't have to pay extra for it to be listed on our Smart Business Exchange platform.
Mm. Okay.
So what that does is, as soon as they're done with that, type or scan and put in that little bit of information, as soon as they hit the go button, it's listed on Smart Business Exchange. So they don't
Mm.
pay extra for that. That's part of the program.
Gotcha.
Um, and it's just very simple for them to scan the documents, get their valuation, and now they can focus on what they do best, which is put buyers and sellers in the same room.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think you've kind of touched on some of the things that make you unique and how you provide this service and support to your customers. You talked about kind of the simple, streamlined process and being a one-stop shop. Is there anything else you want to highlight about what makes you unique and how you provide these different services to your clients?
Well, quite frankly, there's nobody out there that does what we do.
Mm.
So we're unique in the niche on that end.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else on the market that does what we do, how we do it. Even our biggest competitor, they have some tools, but they're very rigid and very dated on how they operate. We've taken and said, and it's funny because at 46 years old, I am not a technology genius and very pushback on technology when it comes out. But looking at the way we're using AI and the way that we're running everything, it really just kind of made sense. I wouldn't say that we're definitely unique, but we're the only people doing what we're doing in the suite of tools that we're providing.
Gotcha.
Um, there's, yeah, so I guess what makes us unique is the fact we're the only people doing it.
Yeah, fair enough. That's awesome. Okay. Great. So where do you see your industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? And you've kind of mentioned AI a couple times, and AI typically comes up when I ask this question about where things are headed. So where do you think this industry is going, and how are you staying on top of it?
Well, I think that what we're doing is we're on the leading edge of the industry in this specific situation. I see where other organizations will probably uh, look at similar tools to implement either internally, like if it's a large brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
or some of the other service providers may look at this and go, hey, we want to implement this AI with the deep research and the reasoning models and the way that it can analyze information so rapidly. So I see AI becoming a player in the game. um, I see where that piece will actually, lack of a better way to phrase it, I think we're going to see more business owners become more confident in listing their businesses in that 5 to 10 years down the road mark. And the reason I
Mm-hmm.
mention that is, in today's market, a lot of the business owners exiting are our baby boomer generation, and these folks aren't, you know, uh, these folks aren't usually that, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Happy to sit down on the computer and do everything via the computer.
Okay.
But in 5 to 10 years, computers have been around for a really long time. So
Right.
that next group of business owners that are going to exit won't have the issues sitting down and doing the
Yeah.
algorithms themselves and running everything themselves. So I can see a shift in the business brokerage industry to where it's going to become, hey, a lot of these newer owners are able to do this themselves because of the tools that are being provided. So I see that shift, but also it's a growing market that it's looked to increase. I think historically over the next 10 years, they're expecting, 3-4 billion dollar increase in the business acquisitions market.
Mm.
And that's just on the buy sell portion. We're not even going to get into private equity and
Yeah.
mergers, acquisitions, and all of that. But
Yeah.
I think that AI is going to be a big player in that game because of the analytical capabilities of the tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the idea of using AI as an enhancement, right? But it's kind of scary to think about where that could go with some of those capabilities and having it kind of take over a lot of things. So,
I
um,
agree. Had a long conversation with a friend not long ago, and I personally think too many people. I do agree AI can be scary. I think too many people, at least when I see marketing and things like that, use or position AI as a solution versus a tool. To me, I
yeah,
look at it as the tool that it is, and we use that tool. Nothing is going to, like, even with what we do, nothing is going to take away that human element of having to
yeah,
look at everything to make sure everything is on point, right?
right.
There's still risk. The AI algorithm doesn't know what that individual's risk tolerance is, so that person still
Hmm.
has to look at all the moving parts based on the information that AI can use to put it all together.
Yeah,
So there's been a lot of great work in the medical research side with AI. It's just so fast and able to evaluate everything.
right.
But yes, I can see some scariness down the road, but there's still a human being behind it
Yeah,
telling it what to do
yeah.
currently. We'll see what
And
5 years looks like.
right, exactly. We'll see. The next 5 to 10 years could be really interesting in how that continues to develop. And I
Yes.
probably have a little fear of it because I don't fully understand it and all its capabilities. So I need to probably educate myself a little more so that I can reduce that or minimize that trepidation about kind of where we're headed. But yeah, I think definitely want to take advantage of the benefits that it can provide and use those to make things better.
I always recommend for somebody that's not used a lot of it, use it for some research.
Mm-hmm.
Start with researching things because then you get to learn how it works and what kind of stuff it can produce.
Yeah.
And it does make research significantly more simple. Instead of
That
going
makes
through
sense.
300 web pages to find the information, it will take those 300, scan those 300, and give you the five that are actually relevant to your research. And then go
Yes.
read the actual documents. Don't just take its word for it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll have to spend some time on that. Okay, so this one's probably my favorite question. I like to ask about the biggest challenge, or we can say failure, you've experienced thus far, and how has that helped shape how you do business?
Well, this is kind of an interesting one for a lot of people. 20 years ago, actually, this year, 20 years ago, I had separated from the military, from active, and I was actually homeless 20 years ago,
Mm.
living in a Salvation Army shelter. I had a bag of clothes. That's all I had to my name at that given moment. Had
Mm-hmm.
made some poor choices. That's on me. I'm not going to blame anybody or the system. I made poor choices. That's what put me in the position I was in. And that's really shaped a lot of things about me, how I manage myself, how I manage people. There's a lot of human element that I think that comes in. I lived through that failure, and I remember looking at myself one day going, I will never put myself in this position again.
Mm.
And I have worked endlessly and tirelessly to put myself in a position where I never have to worry about that. Uh, so, how has that affected my leadership? I put a lot of human element in my leadership. Yes, the company is important, and I have to make decisions based upon what's good for the company. However, I also understand sometimes there's a human element associated with whatever's going on with somebody that you may work with. I believe
Yeah.
that also made me understand that, and my military experience made me understand that leadership is a service position. It is not a title.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to provide the best possible service for my clients and to provide the best possible environment for the people that I rely on to help me and the company be successful.
Yeah.
So, company culture is a huge concern of mine. That homeless time frame, I was very isolated, very alone, made me understand that there are other things happening in people's lives. So if Cindy isn't engaged in that meeting, instead of being mad because Cindy's not engaged, maybe I need to understand what else is going on.
Right.
So a position that we are getting ready to unroll is a chief HR officer. So a lot of folks have that, and HR is a dirty word in a lot of corporate America.
Yeah.
I am bringing on board somebody I actually worked with in the military. They don't have a lot of human resources experience, but I do know what they do have. They know how to take care of people.
Right.
And that role specifically is being unrolled for my people. I brought them on the C-suite level, or bringing them on the C-suite level purposely so they have a direct line to me. I don't want one of my managers dealing with it. I don't want my COO dealing with it. This comes directly to me. And that person's sole purpose in this world is to understand the people that work with us. That
Yeah.
their whole purpose is to know each person within the organization, what motivates them. Is it time? Is it money? Is it praise? That way, when we are to a point of our annual conference and we're doing certain things, I want to know that, hey, this person happens to be a fan of the Steelers. Yeah, I'm going to do that reference. And we're able to provide them maybe tickets to a game. As to where if I gave them a bonus check, they'll be happy until the check's gone.
Right.
But those tickets are going to mean, in my opinion, a little more.
There's
Two
memories
reasons.
attached to that,
It's a
right?
memory, but also they now work in an organization that took that human element into perspective.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I love everything you said. I think, having, served in the military myself, I think we all have some aspect of having been in HR, right? Because
Oh yeah.
a big part of the job is taking care of your people. And I was a commanding
Yep.
officer twice. And while I had HR support, I was making a lot of decisions around, that space. And so I think, we do have a different exposure to that than you might have working in other industries.
I
And I
agree.
love that you talked about, when you went through that difficult time, you took responsibility. So that's on me. And I think that's the biggest thing when we're thinking about how we persevere through challenges and failures is, do we take ownership? Do we take responsibility? And I think that's more important than the actual, mistake or whatever happened to begin with, right? Is how
Well,
you.
accountability is important in
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
A phrase I hate, and I would challenge anybody listening to this to do this if they don't already. But a phrase I hate is "I didn't have the time." And here's a fun little note. If you're watching this podcast, you had the time. However,
Yeah.
okay, what
Yep.
I started doing some years ago is I changed that phrase and I said I didn't take the time. One,
Right.
that's taking personal accountability. Two, when you have to look at one of your clients or one of your stakeholders or one of your employees, in my case now, or your boss in some people's case, and you say the phrase, I didn't take the time, you start mentally processing the fact that you didn't take the time and now you feel like you didn't do what you were supposed to do. If it's something that you said you were, the end product you said you were going to produce, hey, did you respond to this email from Mr. Smith? Instead of going, I didn't have the time,
Right.
you say, I didn't take the time. And let me tell you, you start responding to emails quicker. You start really and it's just a simple phrase.
Yes.
So, it's a personal accountability thing.
Yeah, I love that because you're not changing much in that sentence, but the changes that you make are very important changes to what you're
Yep.
saying. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. No, I have a similar distaste for the phrase. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So it's a very similar, right?
yep.
I didn't have time for it. I haven't had a chance. I have a teenage son, so I get that one a lot. And we have some discussions about, what we should really be saying and not making excuses, but let's take
Yep.
accountability and figure out how we can do it better next time, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, I appreciate all that. That's great. It's great stuff. Okay, so what would you say is your next area of growth, whether it's for you or for your business?
Well, I'm going to focus on the business. That's where we're at. We're going to start. We're starting another subsidiary to focus and work with private equity firms
Okay.
on early acquisitions. So as we get leads, lack of a better way to phrase it, people selling their business, obviously we've got that data the moment they hit the go button. Well, a
Right.
lot of private equity firms would really love to have that first look at some of these organizations. And all of them have a buy box, they have industries, they have, hey, it needs to hit these milestones before we'll consider even looking at it. But we really want to start working heavily with private equity firms to maximize it because it helps our folks selling the business because we now have a vetted, realistic buyer on the other end, aka those private equity firms, to take a look at their business if it fits the metrics they're looking for, and it helps that
Mm-hmm.
private equity firm pick up the businesses that they're looking for. So really, it just builds that ecosystem because really the goal of CNH Holdings is to build the ecosystem around buying and selling businesses. So, that private equity firm now has access to look at businesses even before they go public on our site. So that's our next piece we're working on. Um, and I think that we may, as a holding company, entertain working with some of these firms as for an equity stake. This next year, we're growing our marketing tremendously um, to become a little more self sufficient on our marketing side. I'm bringing on a very large organic social media marketing team, doing a lot more of this type of thing. And then
Yeah.
what we're going to do from there is we're going to try to turn it into a marketing machine. That way, whenever we are working with these private equity firms, we can become a partner with them and use our marketing machine to help these businesses grow that they decide to, whichever ones they decide to acquire, and then just down the road see where it goes. That's kind of a big focus right now that we're kind of looking at moving down the road.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll be keeping an eye on things and see how things develop for you as you move forward there.
And I'll just
And
sit in my little cabin and watch it all happen. I'm okay with
that's
that.
awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. So, how can people contact you if they want to learn more? Maybe they want to work with you. How can they find out more about what you're up to?
LinkedIn is the best route right now.
Okay.
Elite Business Exchange, there's a contact form in there.
Okay.
It's elitebusinessexchange.com. We are actually in the process of redoing the entire Smart Biz Exchange. It's smartbizexchange.com. We're redoing that entire website right now. We
Okay.
broke we broke the back end of our software and had to rebuild it. So
Okay.
that should be coming live within the next couple of weeks. So that'll be a way. But to reach me individually, LinkedIn is by far the best. I respond to almost anybody that messages me through there.
Okay.
Even those guys that aggravate me that don't read my profile and ask me if I want to be in their magazine, I'll still respond because you never know. I didn't have to respond whenever this opportunity came around, and I'm glad that I did. So I
Yeah,
found
me
that
too.
back
Yeah.
to that human element. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's doing their job, hopefully, and the best thing I can do is just keep that in mind as I move forward. And because there's days and times where I've done the cold outreach, going, "Hey, can we work together?"
Hmm.
And somebody took a chance and responded to me, and it's turned into great relationships working together.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I try to move forward with all that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Marcus, I want to thank you for your service in the Army and also for all the great work you've done supporting veterans, which I suspect is rooted in some of your personal experiences when you
Yeah,
left the
yeah.
service. But as a veteran myself, I really appreciate that there are people like you out there supporting other veterans and making the process of leaving service and moving forward with life a little bit easier. So thank you for all that you do there, and best of luck to you.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me, and thank you for your service as well. I mean,
Thanks.
that's
Yep.
huge to me. So
Yep.
yes, like-mindedness and the community involved, and once you get out, as we both know, it's a little difficult, and you
It
find the
is.
like-minded folks, and uh, people that you like working with. And, my co-founder happens to also be military. The CHRO I'm bringing on, he's going to be, again, we work together in the military. He was one of my soldiers. That's actually why I know as much as I do about how well he takes care of people. At the end of the day, everybody's outside of the veteran community. There's a lot of amazing people, and
Absolutely.
you know, we're not special. We just made a decision that somebody else didn't make, and that's or couldn't make due to medical reasons or whatever.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, we go out there, we help each other, and we move forward. I have a really unique hiring perspective. I will offer account management positions to waiters and waitresses that do a great job. I don't care about college. I don't care about that background. I care about capability, customer
Yeah.
service, and attitude. Attitude goes so far in today's
Oh,
world, or at least in
make-
my opinion.
So important.
So
Yeah.
I really wish I had a program to take homeless individuals with skills and transition them into my environment. I'm just not there yet. I'm going to figure that one out. That's going to be something I'm going to look at probably next year or the year later to see, working with local organizations to see, hey, do you have somebody that, and I'm not, criminal background is one thing, but people, again, I understand what it's like to have nothing. So if I can give a little bit of a hand up and give them the opportunity to gain based on their own merit, I would be all for that. I just haven't figured out how to make that program work yet.
Right. Well, it sounds like a worthy endeavor. So good luck. All right. Thanks so much for being here. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Leader's Edge Hot Take Series. I hope you found today's insight meaningful, valuable, and that you're ready to put them into action. Now, if you enjoyed the episode and want to keep improving your leaderships, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I post new content every week, packed with strategies, tips, and real-life examples to help you lead with impact. Now, remember, great leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's about continuously growing yourself. If you'd like to be considered as a guest for upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview to apply today. Keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode. Be awesome.